Alright, I finally got a shock upgrade for this truck. These are supposed to be 75 millimeter, but they're closer to 70, I think it is, from end to end where it connects right here. Came with all the pieces you need to connect it. These are 1/16, and I'm going to share a link in the description so you can pick them up if you want. Try them out. This is going to actually lift it up a little bit more than these cheap shocks I already have. And I went ahead and started to do the drilling. I'm going to do the lift a little bit different. I'm going to bring up my links a little bit closer together and a little bit higher. I'm going to clip these ends off. I just wanted to show what it's going to be like. I'm going to bring it up a little bit more. It should bring a little bit more ground clearance, and it should look a little bit cleaner. Also, I ordered some adjustable links where I'm going to be able to eliminate that whole setup. I'm going to put some links that are going to reach all the way up to the top. So it's going to clear a lot better, and we'll get that figured out. I'm going to go ahead and start by taking this body off. There's 4 screws up front, right up in here underneath the hood, and it also kind of connects right here. There's no screw, it just kind of slides into the bed. You just need to pick it up and slide it out. That was the easiest way. I just took 4 screws out, and the entire grill, steering, servo, and my receiver stuffed in there with some wiring for the lights and everything. That was quite easy to just take that off, and now I have access to my front shocks. Alright, I've got this one detached. It just pops off here. And I had it open on that end so it would just slip on the stock end. I think I filed the inside of this a little bit so it would slip over that. And this came from this truck here. It's a 1/18 scale rock crawler. And that's where these shocks came from. They were really cheap, and they just weren't too good on there, and I wanted to upgrade. Plus I felt bad for taking my daughter's truck apart. You know, I want her to be able to have her truck back. So we got these, and they're aluminum, oil filled. We'll take them out and see if we can't mount them on here. Alright, so I've got this thing together somewhat. I wanted to show what this is looking like. These shocks are actually not taller like I thought they were. They are aluminum and all, but you can see they are not raising this thing up very much, if anything at all. It is a little tiny bit, but not noticeable. I think that, there you go. And to get that shock on there, what I did is I used the screws that came with it, which as I believe is a M2 Phillips head screw, and I cut this little sliver off the end. I left a little bit of wiggle room for the link in here to be able to move back and forth to give it some flex, which is another issue I wanted to point out on these trucks, and good reason to buy the ball joint end links or the metal link upgrades is these plastic links on the ends. They just kind of click on and lock in to this axle, so they actually don't have any sideways twisting motion. They kind of just go up and down, and there's 4 on the front, 4 on the back, so all those connection points, and they don't have any flex or sideways motion at all because there's no ball joints. It doesn't let the truck flex at all around terrain and stuff like that, which I'm going to show a little bit right here. It comes up a little bit, but then it just kind of, that back wheel just comes up, and that's not that much flex. It does flex a little bit, but it's more noticeable on the trail when you're driving it. It kind of stays really stiff, especially because the truck itself is lightweight. So that doesn't help anything. So I think adding more weight to it would make it drive better, and also the ball ends will give it more flexibility as it's moving. Here's the next shock that I prepped for the other side. And I took the metal end and put it on the bottom, and I removed it from the top and just put a rubber grommet in there, and that's from a servo kit. If you want to just upgrade your stock shocks, you're going to have to get some, I think they're about 60 to 65 millimeters, the stock ones. I'll have to check and put it in the description. This isn't stock, this is a little bit different. This is from the crawler truck. This screw here is a bit bigger, so it keeps that from sliding off. I'm going to take this off, and it's going to remove this shock, and going to slip the new one in here. So there you have it. I just razor bladed that little chunk off the end right there. And I still left, you can see I left a little bit of room for this thing to be able to come back and forth, but it pretty much just stays locked over here. Unfortunately, it just stays locked over here. And if you want to put ball end links, I was looking, if you just take and lop this off smooth with this, and then put some sort of screw in all the way through both the shock and this link, you can go ahead and use these stock ones in order to set up your ball ends. So this pretty much allows you to put any small shock upgrade you want on there, as long as it's a small one. These holes are relatively small on this, see next to my finger. And these are supposed to be 75 millimeter, but they're not. They actually ended up being somewhere around 69 or so. I think 70 or 69. And it came with that screw right there. And that's what I used to attach it down on the bottom end. And these shocks are actually a little bit too stiff, I would say. But they were very inexpensive, and that's why I picked them up. They're 4 1/16, and you can see I got that screw and that ball end down there, and I got the rubber grommet up here, like so. Get that on there like that, and I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that down. And it gives it some play in there, gives it some flex. It can move around. I'm gonna go ahead and take this one off. There's a difference side by side, a little bit thicker. And these are M3s. I had 2 nuts on the end to kind of lock it in a little bit better, but with this one, I think I needed a little bit more space, so I put one of the nuts on the inside along with a washer, and then I put one nut on the outside. And then I took some cutters, like wire cutters, these here, and I just kind of gummed up the ends of the threads, so it'll be difficult for the nut to back off. I wasn't able to get lock nuts. You know, I know that's the easy way, but to get lock nuts, but I wasn't able to find any where I went. Alright, and that's got a countersunk Phillips. That way it goes smooth with the frame rail, that way you can still sit your motor in here. And it gives you a nice solid mount point for your shock. You can see the rubber grommet in here. And just lift this thing up and line it up. This thing is actually very rigid with that setup there. It's much better than the way I had it before. Like I said, I'm going to gum up these ends so that thread doesn't back off unless I force it off. I'm looking at the clearance, and it's looking pretty good on the clearance. The spacers worked out pretty good. And this thing, it does come a little close when you turn. Oh, this is obviously loose. It's not that close, but you turn it, it does come quite close in the back. But this thing doesn't actually turn that hard over. It turns about somewhere in there. So it doesn't actually rub. So I'm gonna have to button this thing up. I'm gonna slip this thing in place. good stopping point. I wanted to slip the body on. It's not fully attached, but I slipped the body on just to show the difference. You can see quite a bit of clearance difference as the front to the back. And these shocks, they're not as stiff as I thought they were, but they are a little bit stiffer, which raises the whole front end up. And that's where I stole the shocks from. You can see there. I saw a picture of somebody took the body off of one of these, just took the body off and literally just sat the body from one of these and attached it somehow under here. Lines up pretty close. And this is a dual motor rock crawler. Motor in the front, motor in the back. And I guess if you made it proportional and put soft tires on there, this wouldn't be too bad of a conversion. Because a lot of stuff tends to break under this thing. Like the gears and the RTR servo tends to go out pretty quickly. And this thing does pretty good, but it's got a junk servo. But to each their own. I like the real look of this with the differentials and all that. There's a screw right here on each side, and there's one in the center of the tail underneath the bottom right there. Through a little plate, and you just lift this thing right off. That's if you have the RTR. If you have the kit, you'll know all about this because you'll have to have built it. There's the screws. You see they've gotten a little bit loose. And the new way I've been mounting it eliminates that, I think. This one was still pretty tight, pretty solid. These shocks really make this truck look a lot more serious. And just in case you're wondering what I'm using, this is it. Pretty sure you could use like M3. It's very similar to the M3, M2. But that's what I was using, 1 inch. And I can cut them off if I need to. I also have 1/2 inchers for the small ones. It comes with the nuts in there. See, I'm making a new stud here out of the long one. These I'm already made before. Got a lock washer in there, and then the nut tightened down real tight. This is a very solid mounting point. And if you're interested in my studs, the way I had those, I also took the same screws and screwed them in there very slowly until I got them most of the way in. And that gave me a nice stud. And I glued some 12mm adapters onto stock rims. So I have the 5mm inside, 12mm right there. And that enabled me to put my big rims on. A little rubber grommet in there works perfect. Alright, I'm putting everything back into place, testing it, making sure my lights still work. I didn't loosen any of these wires while I was messing with this thing, moving it all over the place. Found a couple loose screws on this deck plate, needed to tighten that down so my hood sits down nice and level with the grill. This thing's mounted in here now. I got my charge plug. If I can get this open. charge plug right there. My on and off switch in my toolbox. So I'll put the cab over and it'll cover all this up. I wasn't expecting it to make it much bigger, but it did make it a good bit more tall. Alright, we're finally out here, all that modification all over, a little bit of fender rub, and this thing is extremely stiff, it looks. I don't think I'm going to be having any fender rub issues. It is pretty close to that shock in the front, and I think my battery's pretty dead, so I'm not going to have any running time. My battery's dead. So it's looking pretty good though. It's looking like I'm not going to be rubbing. She is quite a bit higher, as you can tell. I would say it's about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch more. And it looks pretty good. Looks pretty stout. I'm going to have to charge this battery up and give it some new life. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Check me out, give me a like or a comment. I had somebody mention in one of my videos something about a giveaway. And I've been thinking about it. But at this point, I don't make any money on these videos, so it's kind of hard for me to do a giveaway. But I was thinking about it, and you know, a lot of people have issues with keeping their RCs running, and that's a big issue that I've had. And I know a lot of people can't always, you know, replace all the parts that they need right away. So what I'm going to do is, if you subscribe and comment on one of my videos, I'm going to do a giveaway soon. It's going to be on another video I'm going to do where you go through the comments and you make a comment and like the video, subscribe, and I'm going to get you to hit me up on my Instagram, and I'm going to do a giveaway of RC parts. What I'm going to do is, if you have an RC truck that's broken down or something broke on you and you're having trouble getting it back together because you just don't have the cash right away to get it done, I don't mind. I'll look out for you. You know, hit me up on Instagram and a DM, and we'll get your address together, and I'll send you out something. I'm not going to be spending a whole lot of money. I don't have a whole lot of money. I'm a family man. I can barely pay for my own RC hobby. But if y'all can help me get to 1,000 subscribers, I don't mind looking out. So just please hit me up. Please subscribe. Until next time. Thanks, guys.